I stared at the small white card in my hand, the one the funeral director had slipped to me when no one was looking. It had just 3 words. Check her phone. Before I tell you what I found on that phone, let me tell you how I ended up at my own wife's funeral, wondering if I'd been sleeping next to a stranger for 42 years. My name is Robert Mitchell. I'm 68 years old, and until 3 weeks ago, I thought I had the perfect life. My wife Margaret and I had built everything together. We started with nothing back in 1982. Just 2 kids, in love with big dreams. I worked construction. She worked as a secretary. We saved every penny, bought our first house, raised our daughter Emily, and eventually I started my own contracting business. By the time I turned 60, we had it all. A beautiful home in Connecticut, worth about $1.8 million, paid off. Retirement accounts. No debt. Our daughter Emily was 35, married to a man named David Chen. And they had given us 2 grandchildren. Life was good. Life was perfect. Or so I thought. It started 6 months ago. Margaret began acting strange. She'd take phone calls and walk into the other room. She'd be on her laptop late at night, quickly closing it when I walked by. At first, I thought maybe she was planning a surprise for our 42nd anniversary. Maybe a trip. Margaret loved surprises. Then one morning, she brought up something that made my stomach turn. "Robert, honey, we need to talk about something important," she said over breakfast. Her voice had that serious tone, the one she used when discussing big decisions. "What's on your mind?" I asked, setting down my coffee. "I've been thinking about Emily and David. You know they've been struggling since David lost his job last year." I nodded. David had been laid off from his position as a software engineer. They'd been living off Emily's teacher salary, barely making ends meet with 2 kids. "I want to help them," Margaret continued. "More than just small checks here and there. I want to give them real help." "What do you have in mind?" I asked. "The lake house," she said. "We owned a vacation property up in Maine, a beautiful 3-bedroom cottage on a lake. We'd bought it 15 years ago for $400,000. It was now worth close to $900,000. It was our retirement dream, our escape." "You want to sell it?" I asked, feeling a knot form in my stomach. "No," she said. "I want to give it to them. Sign it over completely. They could live there, sell it if they need to, whatever helps them get back on their feet." I sat back in my chair. $900,000. That was a huge gift. "Margaret, that's our place. We worked so hard for it. Can't we just help them with money? Maybe loan them?" "Robert, she's our daughter," Margaret interrupted. "Our only child. What's the point of having all this if we can't help our own family when they need it?" She had a point. We did have plenty. The main house, retirement accounts with over $2 million combined, Social Security coming in. We'd be fine without the lake house. "Let me think about it," I said. "Over the next week." Margaret brought it up every single day. She showed me pictures of the grandkids, talked about how crowded their current apartment was, how this could change their lives. She cried one night, saying she felt like we were being selfish, hoarding wealth while our daughter struggled. Finally, I gave in. "Okay," I said. "Let's do it. For Emily." Margaret's face lit up like Christmas morning. She hugged me tight. "You're such a good father, Robert. Such a good man. Emily is going to be so happy." We called our lawyer, drew up the paperwork, and signed the property over to Emily and David. The transfer was complete by early March. The lake house was theirs. Emily cried when we told her. She hugged both of us, thanked us over and over. David shook my hand firmly, promised they'd take good care of it. They said they'd probably live there for a few years, then maybe sell it and use the money to buy something closer to the city. Everything seemed perfect. Then, 2 months later, Margaret died. It was sudden, a massive stroke. She collapsed in the kitchen on a Tuesday morning. I called 911, rode with her in the ambulance, held her hand in the hospital, but she never woke up. The doctors said it was a hemorrhagic stroke. Catastrophic. Nothing anyone could have done. She was gone within 18 hours. I was devastated. 42 years together, and she was just gone. Emily and David came to the hospital immediately. My daughter was inconsolable. David seemed shocked, quiet. They helped me with the arrangements, the funeral home, the service. That's where things started to feel wrong. At the funeral home, while Emily was in the bathroom and David was outside making phone calls, the funeral director, a middle-aged man named Mr. Peterson, approached me. He'd been our funeral director when my father passed away years ago. He knew our family. "Mr. Mitchell," he said quietly, "I need to speak with you. Privately." "Of course," I said, thinking it was about payment or some detail about the service. He glanced around, then leaned in close. "I probably shouldn't do this, but I've known your family a long time. Something doesn't feel right." "What do you mean?" I asked. "Your wife was here 3 weeks before she died." I blinked. "What?" "She came in alone." My heart started pounding. "Why would she do that?" "That's what struck me as odd," Mr. Peterson said. "She was only 64, healthy as far as I knew. People usually pre-plan when they're older or sick. She seemed nervous, urgent. She paid $18,000 cash for everything. The casket, the service, the burial plot, everything." "Cash?" I whispered. "Yes." And she said something strange when she left. She said, "Make sure Robert gets this back. Make sure he knows the truth." He pressed a small white card into my palm. "She left her phone with me. Said to give it to you after the funeral. It's in my office safe." She gave me the passcode. I looked down at the card. In Margaret's handwriting, 0427, Emily's birthday. "I'm sorry. Robert, I love you." My hands started shaking. "I don't understand," I said. "Neither do I," Mr. Peterson replied. "But I think you need to see what's on that phone." That's when Emily came back from the bathroom. Mr. Peterson stepped away smoothly, professional again, and I slipped the card into my pocket. The funeral was a blur. People came, offered condolences, shared memories of Margaret. Emily spoke beautifully about her mother. David stood beside her, supportive. I felt numb, my mind racing about that phone. After everyone left, I told Emily and David I needed some time alone. They understood. David offered to stay with me, but I insisted I'd be fine. The moment they left, I drove back to the funeral home. Mr. Peterson was waiting. He led me to his office and handed me Margaret's phone. An older iPhone, not her regular one. This was a phone I'd never seen before. From the phone that this is a burner phone, I realized. That's what I thought too, Mr. Peterson said gently. I sat in his office, hands trembling, and typed in the passcode. 0427. The phone unlocked. There was only one app with any activity. Messages. I opened it. There was a single conversation thread. The contact name was just D. I started reading from the beginning. The messages went back 8 months. "Did you talk to him about the lake house?" "Margaret. Not yet. I need to find the right time. D." We agreed on the timeline. 6 months maximum. The sooner we get the property transferred, the sooner we can move forward. "Margaret. I know. I'll bring it up this week." My blood ran cold. I scrolled down. D. "How did he react?" "Margaret. He's hesitant. Thinks we should just loan money instead." D. "You need to convince him. Use Emily. Use the grandkids. Make him feel guilty. Whatever it takes. That property is worth $900K. It's the whole plan." "Margaret. I feel terrible about this." "Don't. He's had everything his whole life. This is for us. For our future. Once the property is transferred, we wait 6 months. Then we're free." I couldn't breathe. I kept reading. "Margaret." He agreed. "The paperwork is being drawn up. Robert is signing the lake house over to Emily and David. D. Perfect. That's step 1 complete. Now we wait. 6 months from the transfer date. The lake house will be ours. To do with as we please. Margaret. I can't believe we're really doing this. D. You're finally choosing yourself, Margaret. Choosing us. You've sacrificed 42 years for a man who never appreciated you. Soon, you'll be free. The messages continued. Plans. Details. Margaret talking about how guilty she felt, but how this is the only way. How she'd tried to leave me before but never had the financial means. How the lake house was her ticket to a new life. Then I saw it. Plans for Margaret to fake a terminal illness. To tell me she had cancer. That she had 6 months to live. She'd use that time to prepare me for life. Without her. Then she'd stage her death and disappear with D. But something had gone wrong. The last messages were from 2 weeks before Margaret died. Margaret. I went to the doctor for the fake diagnosis paperwork we talked about. They did routine blood work. David. I actually have a brain aneurysm. A real one. They found it on the scan. D. What? Is it serious? Margaret. They want to do surgery. They said it could rupture at any time. I could have a stroke. D. Okay, this changes things. Get the surgery. We'll adjust the timeline. Margaret. I'm scared. What if something goes wrong? What if I actually die before we can be together? D. Don't think like that. You'll be fine. But the last message broke me completely. Margaret. I can't do this anymore. I'm calling it off. I'm going to tell Robert everything. I'm going to tell Emily the truth about why we really gave them the lake house. I can't die with this lie between us. I love Robert. I've always loved Robert. I don't know what I was thinking. I'm so sorry. This is over. D. Margaret, don't be stupid. Think about what you're saying. Margaret. I'm done, David. David Chen. My son-in-law. I felt like I'd been punched in the chest. My wife had been having an affair with my daughter's husband. They'd manipulated me into giving away the lake house as part of some scheme to run away together. And Margaret had planned to fake her death and leave me. But she'd had a real medical crisis, and she decided at the last minute to come clean. Then she died before she could tell me. I sat in that office for over an hour, reading the messages again and again. There were photos, too. Margaret and David together at hotels, at restaurants in different cities, kissing, planning their future. My wife of 42 years, my son-in-law. I thought about Emily, my sweet daughter, who had no idea her husband had been sleeping with her mother, who thought her mother's dying wish was to help her family. The lake house. They'd gotten the lake house. Margaret had died before completing the plan, but David still had the property. Legally, it belonged to Emily and David, worth $900,000. I drove home in a daze. I didn't sleep that night. I sat in my study, thinking, planning. Arn, the dim, Grangman, Arnmangen. By morning, I knew exactly what I had to do. First, I called my lawyer, Stephen Hartwick. We'd worked together for 30 years. Stephen, I need you to do something for me. Quietly. Of course, Robert. What's going on? I need you to look into the lake house transfer. Is there any way to reverse it? The one you gave to Emily and David? Robert, that transfer is complete. It's legally theirs now. Why? Just check if there's any clause, any legal option. Please. He called me back 2 hours later. Robert, there's nothing. It's a completed gift transfer. The only way to get that property back is if Emily and David voluntarily transfer it back to you, or if you can prove fraud in the original transaction. Fraud. That gave me an idea. What would constitute fraud? I asked. You'd have to prove that the transfer was obtained through deliberate deception. Like if someone lied about the reason for the transfer, manipulated you into signing, that sort of thing. The messages. Margaret and David discussing how to manipulate me. That was fraud. But there was a problem. If I revealed the affair, it would destroy Emily. She'd learned that her husband had been sleeping with her mother, that her mother had been planning to abandon her father. It would shatter her completely. I couldn't do that to my daughter. I needed another way. I spent the next week playing the grieving widower. Emily checked on me daily. David came by, pretending to be the caring son-in-law, asking if I needed anything. Every time I looked at him, I wanted to confront him. But I stayed calm. I played my role. Then, 2 weeks after the funeral, David made his move. He showed up at my house on a Saturday morning. Emily was at work, teaching a weekend art class. "Robert, can we talk?" he asked, sitting down in my living room. "Of course." "David, what's on your mind? I know this is terrible timing, with Margaret just passing and everything. But Emily and I have been discussing our finances." He looked uncomfortable. "With the lake house now in our name, we've been thinking about our options." "Options?" I asked, keeping my voice neutral. "We're thinking of selling it," he said. "I know you and Margaret gave it to us to help, and it has. But the property taxes are high. Maintenance costs are adding up, and we really need liquid cash right now. We could sell it for close to $900,000, pay off all our debts, put money away for the kids' college, and maybe even buy a modest house here in Connecticut." He was doing exactly what Margaret said in the messages. Selling the lake house, taking the money. "That makes sense," I said carefully. "It's your property now. You should do what's best for your family." Relief washed over his face. "Really? You're not upset?" "David, I gave you that house to help you and Emily. If selling it helps you more, then that's what you should do." "Thank you, Robert. That means a lot. Actually, we already have a buyer. A couple who saw it last week. They're offering $875,000. We could close in 30 days. 30 days. He'd already found a buyer. Had probably been planning this before Margaret even died. "That's wonderful," I said. "I'm happy for you both." After David left, I made a call. "Stephen, I need you to prepare a legal challenge to the lake house transfer. I want it filed the day before their sale closes." "Robert, what grounds?" "Undue influence and fraud. I have evidence that the transfer was obtained through manipulation and deceit. Text messages. Plans to defraud me. I'll bring you everything. Everything plan. I have evidence that I spent the next week gathering evidence. I made copies of everything on Margaret's phone. I documented the timeline. I wrote out my statement. The hard part was what came next. I invited Emily to dinner. Just the two of us. "Dad, is everything okay?" she asked as we sat down. "Sweetheart, I need to tell you something, and it's going to be very difficult to hear." I watched her face as I told her everything. About the phone, about the messages, about her mother and David. She didn't believe me at first. She got angry, called me grief-stricken, said I was seeing things that weren't there. Then I showed her the phone. I watched my daughter's world fall apart as she read the messages between her mother and her husband. The affair, the plans. She cried for 2 hours straight. "The lake house," she finally whispered. "That's why Mom pushed so hard. It wasn't to help me. It was to help them run away together." "Yes," I said gently. "And David, he's still planning to sell it. Take the money." "Yes." Emily's tears turned to rage. "He used me. They both used me. Mom used both of us. Your mother changed her mind at the end," I said. "But she didn't," Emily said bitterly. "I have a plan," I said. "But I need your help." Emily looked up at me with red eyes. "What do you need me to do?" "Here's what we did." Emily went home and acted completely normal. She didn't confront David. She played along with the lake house sale. The sale was scheduled to close on a Friday. On Thursday afternoon, my lawyer filed a legal injunction blocking the sale. The grounds: fraud and undue influence in the original property transfer. David called me, furious. "Robert, what the hell is this? Your lawyer just blocked our sale." "I know," I said calmly. "Why would you do this?" That property is ours. You gave it to us. You and Margaret manipulated me into giving you that property, I said. I have proof. Silence on the line. I don't know what you're talking about, he finally said. Text messages, David. Between you and Margaret. Planning. Everything. The affair. The manipulation. Using Emily. All of it. More silence. You can't prove anything, he said, but his voice wavered. Margaret kept everything. Every message. Every photo. Every plan you two made. And she left it all for me to find. This is insane, David said. Emily, your father is insane. I heard Emily's voice in the background. I've seen the messages, David. A long pause. Emily? David's voice cracked. I know everything, she said, and I could hear she was crying. I know about you and my mother. I know what you did. Baby, please, let me explain. Get out, Emily said. Get out of my house. Now. I heard shouting, crying, and then the line went dead. Emily called me 10 minutes later. He's gone. He took some clothes and left. Are you okay? I asked. No, she said. But I will be. David tried to fight the injunction. He hired a lawyer, but when Stephen presented the evidence, the text messages, the documented fraud, David's lawyer advised him to settle. The settlement was this. David would sign over all rights to the lake house back to me. Emily would file for divorce. In exchange, I wouldn't press criminal charges for fraud and wouldn't make the affair public. David signed. The lake house came back to me. Emily got full custody of the kids. David moved to California, as far away as he could get. My daughter is healing. It's slow, painful. She's in therapy. The kids are too. But we're making it through together. I still have Margaret's phone. Sometimes I read the messages, trying to understand how my wife of 42 years could have planned to leave me, trying to understand when our marriage became something she wanted to escape. But then I remember her last messages, how she changed her mind, how she planned to come clean, how she told David it was over, that she loved me, that she'd always loved me. I choose to believe that was the real Margaret, the woman I married, the woman who built a life with me, the woman who, in her final days, chose truth over deception. The affair, the plan, the manipulation. Maybe that was fear. Fear of aging. Fear of being trapped. Fear of a life half-lived. I don't know. I'll never know. What I do know is this. Family is complicated. Love is complicated. And sometimes, the people we trust most are the ones who hurt us deepest. But I also know that the truth always comes out. Margaret made sure of that, even in death. The lake house sits empty now. I can't bring myself to go there. Too many memories. Too many ghosts. But I'm keeping it. Not for me. For my grandchildren. When they're older, I'll sign it over to them. Not to Emily. And not through any husband. Directly to them. They'll have something real. Something honest. Something built on truth instead of lies. That's the legacy I want to leave. Not the house. Not the money. But the lesson that the truth, no matter how painful, is always worth more than a beautiful lie.